today's lesson is going to be on probability. Probability is, well, it tells you how likely it is that an event will occur. So a classic example is using some dice. So here I have one die. It's a standard die. Its numbers 1 to 6 on it. So there's six possibilities, and it's just as likely that the die will roll on a 1 as it is a 5 or a 4. Every side is the same size, and it's all evenly weighted. So an example of a question might be, well, what's the probability of the dice rolling, say, a 2? Well, because there's just 1 2 on this dice, and there's 6 possible outcomes, it's a 1 in 6 chance that it would land on a 2. Now, there's different terms here that you might hear. If the probability of something happening, if it is certain, that means it will definitely occur. So, for example, if I said, how likely is it that the dice rolls on a number from 1 to 6? Well, that's certain because those are the only possible outcomes. A probable event is one that is likely to occur, but it's not for sure going to happen. So a probable event would be, say, the likelihood of it landing on 1 to 5. An improbable event would be one that is unlikely to occur, but it's not impossible. So, for example, it landing on the number 4. There's only one of those on the dice. There's a 1 in 6 chance, so it's not likely that it's going to happen, but it is still possible. And the last term here is impossible, so that's an event that will definitely not occur. So the likelihood of the dice rolling a 7 is impossible because there is no 7. That's not an option. So here's another example of something that you might use in a probability question. So you have dice and you also have spinners. So a spinner is something that's often used in board games where you have different sections and you flick the pointer here and it will point at one of the sections. So with this particular spinner, the probability that the pointer will land on blue is 3 out of 6. Because there are there's 3 blue sections, and there are 4, 5, 6, there's 6 sections in total. So if I flick this spinner, there's a 3 out of 6 chance that it will land on blue. Now if we simplify that, that's a 1 in 2 chance, because half of the sections here are blue. And remember, you can simplify a fraction if both the numerator and denominator can be divided by the same number. So in this case, 3 and 6 can both be divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. The probability that the pointer will land on a yellow, well, because there's 2 yellows out of 6, is 2 over 6. Now that can also be simplified because 2 and 6 can be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So there's a 1 in 3 chance that this pointer will point at a yellow when you spin it. And the last one, we have a red here. Well, there's only one red section out of 6, so it's just a 1 in 6 chance that the pointer will point at red, and we can't simplify that any further. Okay, so here's a game that involves 2 players. We have Jamie and Alex, and they're playing a game called Predicting Products. Remember, the product is when you take 2 or more numbers, multiply them together, and you get an answer. The product is the answer to a multiplication question. So they're taking turns rolling 2 dice, each labeled 1 to 6, so 2 standard dice. If the product of the 2 numbers rolled is odd, Jamie gets a point. So for example, if one of the dice is a 1 and the other dice is a 3, well, you multiply those together. 1 times 3 is 3, that's odd, so Jamie would get a point in that case. Yep. If the product of the 2 numbers rolled is even, Alexis gets a point, and the first to 20 points wins. So the question here is, who is more likely to win? Okay. So in order to solve this problem, what we would have to do is create a little chart like this that shows all the possible outcomes. So across the top here, I have all of the outcomes of one of the dice, right? It's going to land on either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the other die will also land on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So now if I roll 2 ones, well, 1 times 1 is 1. If I roll, say, a 2 and a 4, well, 4 times 2 is 8. So inside here, it shows all the possible products, okay, just like a times table chart. So the next thing that we would want to do then is find out of all these possible products, which ones are even and which ones are odd, and that'll tell us how likely it is for Jamie or Alexis to get a point. So in this question, there's 36 possible outcomes because we have 6 options for one die and 6 for the other. So inside of our chart here, well, 6 times 6 is 36, so there's 36 possible outcomes. And what I've done here is I've shown you that all of the odd numbers I've circled green, and all of the even numbers I've circled red. So we have a little visual and we can see which one's most likely without even counting them. Okay, so you can tell here that there are definitely more red than green. So red was even, and Alexis got a point if the number was even. So in this game, Alexis is most likely to win. You might think, well, there's an equal number of even numbers and odd numbers on the dice, so why does one person have a greater chance of winning? Well, if you take any odd number and multiply it by any even number, the answer will always be an even number. If I take any even number and multiply it by another even number, that will also always be even. The only way that we can get an odd product is if both of the numbers that you're multiplying are also odd. Okay, so if it's an odd times an odd, you get an odd. If it's an odd times an even, like 3 times 4, it's going to be even. And if it's an even times an even, like 4 times 2, that's also even. So there's more chances that the product will be even. Now, as a fraction, well, I know there's 36 possible outcomes here, and the chance of Alexis getting a point, well, if you count them all, there's going to be 27 red circles here. So that means that Alexis has a 27 in 36 chance of getting a point. Whereas Jamie, there's only 9 green circles. So Jamie has a 9 in 36 chance. Now I could actually simplify these here. I can divide both these numbers by 9. 27 divided by 9 is 3, and 36 divided by 9 is 4. So it's a 3 in 4 chance, like a 3/4 chance, that it will be even. And for this one, I can also divide each number by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1, and 36 divided by 9 is 4, so it's a 1 in 4 chance. So 1/4 of the time, Jamie will get a point, but 3/4 of the time, Alexis will get a point. So in this game, Alexis is most likely to win.